he won a state debate championship. First time anyone in Hawley's ever medaled at state debate. So at speech, he wins a category there too, not as big of a surprise. And a teammate named Derek Christensen, a senior, also won a state speech championship. Our buddy Kelso's a junior. So it was really something. And the Moorhead Spuds, they are a speech powerhouse. They won their 4th consecutive 2A team championship. Melrose is your 1A state speech champion. And I was never in speech. I was never smart enough or polished enough to do anything like that. But I'm always so impressed when I watch this event. It's such a great activity. These kids are so smart and so well prepared. You don't just stumble into a speech event and know what you're doing.
Oh, no.
Just hours and hours.
I couldn't get up in front of my own class when I was in high school.
No kidding. And it's just so great. There's so many great things about it. You know, these kids are competing against each other, but they're cheering for each other at the awards. They hug each other. They congratulate each other. They take pictures together. It's and I tweeted, and this tweet has got a lot of traction. I said, if kids who participate in high school speech don't make you feel optimistic about the future, then I just don't know what to tell you. And that's really true. People worry about this, this generation. This generation is great.
No, I'm okay with this generation.
Yeah. And kind of a similar tweet. This is kind of a geographical tweet about speech from Emmett Keenan, the athletic director at St. Cloud Cathedral. He tweeted this and tagged me on it after he got home from speech. He said, "It struck me today at speech that an MSHSL Class A state tourney where you qualify individually is a Minnesota geography lesson. Mm-hmm. Where else do students from every corner of this great state and parts in between compete against each other?" And he's right. I hadn't really realized that at speech. It's like the state wrestling tournament, the state track meet. For the smaller classes, you might have a school with 1 student there, but boy, it's a big deal. And even like the speech kids, these kids compete. A lot of them know each other just from some of them from other activities they're in, like Kelso's a cross-country runner. But really a great thing, and I'm so impressed. It just kind of does my spirit well when I spend a few hours at a state speech meet. It's great.
Absolutely. Another recurring item on our show, thank a ref.
Yeah, and this one goes back to our friends in Princeton at the Pizza Bar, and Jody had a photo of that on her Facebook page, and she also tweeted it. Hashtag thank a ref kicks off the spring sports season at Solheim Field, and this familiar face doing a doubleheader. She's got the pizza that she's written on it with the Sharpie. Hashtag thank a ref with the umpire, with the home plate umpire. And she continued, the best thing about officiating multiple sports is you get fed all year long. And we know these officials who do games in Princeton, if they see Jody coming at them with a little cardboard box, they are very, very thrilled because the Pizza Barn does a great job taking care of these officials, and that does not happen everywhere. I wish it did, but that's really cool. And spring officials, especially with the kind of weather we can have, it can be cold and wet and windy, and these name the outdoor sport. These officials do a great service to all these kids.
Couldn't do it without them.
Could not.
They're necessities. Band tweet of the week.
Okay, this is a band tweet of the week. It's a multi-sport athlete tweet of the week. I don't know Corey's last name, but the Farmington High School band Twitter account tweeted a photo of a kid in his baseball uniform, cap included, doing a solo at the solo and ensemble contest. I don't know if he had a saxophone or a trumpet or what. He's sitting on stage. There's a little, I think it was piano accompanist. He's playing his solo at the contest in his baseball uniform, then hopped on the bus and went off to play baseball. And the tweet ended with, being a well-rounded high school student means embracing all, capital ALL, all of your passions. So that's pretty good. That reminds me of stories from the state softball tournament, which often coincides with graduations of high school girls playing state softball tournament, maybe winning a state softball tournament, getting in the cars afterwards with mom and dad to race home, get to school to graduate from high school, still in their cleats. They just throw the gown on over their softball uniform, still eye black under their eyes, getting their diploma across the stage. So, way to go, well-rounded kids.
That's awesome. Drive of the week.
Yeah, this goes back to Henning and Fergus Falls last week. I was in the car. I wasn't in the car, but I was gone for 13 hours. Got up there to Henning around the middle of the day, about lunchtime, and sat down with the basketball guys. And And just I'd never been in Henning. When I wrote during the tournament, I got to get to Henning. I've never been there. I've been all over around up there. Really cool little town. Reminded me of my small town where I grew up in Iowa, about 800 people. And I tell people, when I pull into a town and I see a grain elevator and some steeples, these are my people. And then Henning, those are my people. Great visit there. Stopped in Underwood on the road to Fergus Falls. John Heyman is the principal there, former high school league board member and board president. Wonderful, wonderful guy. Hadn't seen him much lately, so I texted him, "Hey, dude, are you around? I might pop in your office." So sat down there. We kind of caught up with each other. John has a son who's a minor league umpire. How great is that? He's got a picture in his office. His son is working the Midwest League now. Lives in Fargo with his wife, no kids. In the winter, he's a substitute teacher. February, heads to Florida, I think it was in Arizona this year. Works spring training games, couple games a day sometimes. He's kind of worked his way up. He's in the Midwest League, and John and the rest of the family get in the car sometimes. I think they were headed to Cedar Rapids to see his son umpire. So I knew his son was an umpire, but I didn't know the extent. So way to go, Heyman. So way to go, John Heyman. Great seeing him. And then I ended up over in Fergus Falls for a track meet, and I tweeted the picture of Oscar the otter, the giant. I don't know. It's like a 50-foot long otter in a park. I assume it's concrete. And I took a picture of it. And me on Twitter, I tweeted something like, "I'm sitting here in Fergus Falls trying to figure out the nickname of the high school teams." So we had, so then all the comedians jump on board. Oh, that looks like a muskrat, looks like a dachshund. It was, we all got the comedy out of our systems there. But saw some old friends in Fergus Falls, made some new friends in Fergus Falls, wore my winter coat. It was a little breezy. But again, they've got the turf there. They got a great track. I saw something I've never seen before, and I don't think the result was probably too bad. I didn't see it happen, but I saw an ambulance pull up to the discus area. So they've got it's a professional discus area. The circle, net around it, big black post, holding up this net. That's a safety thing. Because these kids spin around, throw that discus. I've seen them go the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So there was a young girl, a high school student, I assume, being treated by the paramedics, and they did take her away in the ambulance. And apparently it was a precaution. Somebody spun around through the discus. I don't know geometry how this happened. Banged off one of these posts that holds the net and somehow hit somebody in the head.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's not, you don't want to see that coming at you. And I think everything was probably okay. Just everybody seemed to think, didn't seem so bad. She's gonna have a bruise on her head. But you can never plan for anything that could happen. We talk about safety at the high school league and all our activities all the time. And then they did everything right. You just don't know. I guess maybe you don't stand where, I don't know. Because the guy, I was talking to a coach who saw it. He said it was the strangest. You couldn't have told me in a million years if you tried that a million times. That's not possible.
Wow.
I don't know if it was spinning in a certain way, spun off the post and came back. I don't know. It wasn't good, but I didn't hear any. I did a little checking later. It sounded like everything was working out okay. So anyway, that was my drive of the week. Really, really good time. I'm not 30 years old like I think I am. I'm pretty tired when I sometimes I got to crack that window, get some fresh air in the car.
I've done that.
I'm getting a little droopy, but really fun to see people and go to new places, go to places I've been before and see great people around Minnesota.
Let's wrap up with some Twitter questions. Let's buzz through a few. Thanks for sending these in. Greg Miller, what geography training has the MSHSL section assignment committee had?
Greg's a pretty good guy. Well, Greg's a great guy. He's a basketball coach and we talked about this before. We just announced a new section placements for the next 2 years. There's a trillion decisions that are made, and not all of them are going to be home runs. There's going to be that 1% that isn't going to make somebody happy. Yeah, and it's not a perfect system. There is no perfect system. And it's interesting, this time of year, high school associations all over the state are doing the same thing. I'm seeing press releases and tweets and Facebook posts about this and reaction to those. This is not a Minnesota thing. This is a national thing. It's just the way these systems are set up. Yeah, so some of the alignments might look a little goofy. Some teams might have been moved. In a lot of cases, people are upset because a section that's already strong adds another really strong team. That's not fair. Well, and I always say geography is the number one thing, and maybe in some cases the geography doesn't appear right to some people. But like I said, it's not a perfect system. People are always going to find fault with it, and that's okay. That's part of the process.
From John Holmes, I think he's a friend of Sammy
Yeah.
Schmitz's. I met him when Sammy Schmitz got to play in the Masters. It was a great experience for everybody. Your thoughts on moving boys golf to the fall? Courses are in better shape, less public on the courses, weather more cooperative, no high-hand boys sports to compete with.
Yeah.
Less boys sports in general, less need for indoor space. Players at peak performance can start matches right away.
John's got a good point. He's the boys hockey coach and golf coach at Farmington. I wrote about John and his wife Erin, who's one of the band directors at Farmington. That's a power couple in Farmington. They both do great things. And John's got a good point. I've raised this point myself. With spring sports, there's not a lot you can do. People have talked about, why don't we start every spring sport, move it back 2 weeks? Okay, well, now you're looking into July. Do you want to do that? Do you want to mess with summer and family vacations? And we're not there yet. I don't see that happening. But golf, that has made sense to me. And I've asked the same question. Because you could say, okay, the first day of the golf season is August 1st. You have a team meeting, and then you go play golf. You don't have to wait. The courses are in great shape, or August 15th, whatever you want to do. Players are ready to go. They've been playing all summer. And I don't think I saw a downside. But I've talked to some people who said, well, like the courses we currently use, they've been asked about that. And they have, in the fall, they have so many, late summer and fall, they have so many, annual things that happen. It's hard for them to carve out 2 days, the 2 days we would want for our state tournaments because, nobody's paying green fees on those days. We pay a fee to use the facility. And people, will buy drinks and food and stuff, but I assume it can put a dent in their profit margin. But I think it's worth talking about because the athletes are ready to go. Courses are in great shape. Like right now, we're waiting for the courses to be in good shape, and they're not. And golf may be kind of an outlier there where you could maybe do that. And I grew up in Iowa where with baseball and softball, they're summer sports in Iowa. They're not spring sports. And that's the only state in the country, as far as I know, that does that. I don't think we want to have any summer sports. I just don't think that kind of goes against the tradition in Minnesota of what the summers mean to us here. But and I don't think there's any imminent move on this golf thing to move it to fall. But every spring when the weather's bad, and the weather's bad every spring, that always comes up. And it's a fair point. Yeah, John makes a good point. It may be discussed at some point, if the Golf Coaches Association pushed for it. That's what it takes to do these things. Is you got to have the body behind the sport. If you had golf coaches saying this would be better for our sport, I think it'd have a chance. But But that hasn't happened.
Friend MJ asks, what are the other spring activities besides the usual outdoor sports?
I can go down the list here. Lacrosse is a newish fall sport. Baseball, softball, track. I'm looking at the list here. Clay target, another newish one. Golf, lacrosse. I'm just looking at the list of our activities. Robotics is going on now. Speech is done. We don't have a tennis, boys and girls tennis. I think that's it. Looking at the list, and it's spring is really busy. I always tell people, they ask me after the winter sports season and the winter tournaments, which is so busy, what's spring like? And I said, it's calm. You don't have the big events, the big crowds. It's peaceful. You're always looking at the weather, but but when you look at the list of activities, there's tons going on. You look at some of these schools, some of these ADs having to reschedule outdoor events. What a mess that is. And they're used to it. They do it every year. But there's just so much going on. These schools you go to any of these, especially a big school that has lacrosse and maybe sports that other smaller schools don't. You go on a Wednesday afternoon after school, that's a busy place. That's a hopping place. There's just kids everywhere in different activities. So it's a fun time of year. It's not, like I said, it's not so much the high pressure things we're used to. I mean, state tournaments are high pressure, but to me, it's maybe the most fun time of the year, just because there's so much going on, and it's the most questionable time of year because of the weather too. Yeah. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Great stuff from John. Thanks to PizzaBarnPrinceton.com, Pizza Barn in Princeton. We appreciate everybody listening. Check out TalkNorth.com for all of our shows, and of course, come back for Preps Day with John Millea, and we'll be back next week to tell you more.